Hello. For my theater tradition, I will be doing Commedia dell'arte. Commedia dell'arte was founded in the Italian Renaissance during the 18th century, and it loosely translates to comedy of the profession. And when they're performing, they most often used half masks, so they relied less on their facial expressions and more on their movement, their voice to tell a story and perform. And it was often performed in the streets or in inns, and they moved around a lot, and performing in the inns gave them a temporary place to stay. And the church did not like theater and Commedia dell'arte as well, for the reason of the audience that Commedia brought together was sometimes thieves, prostitutes, and they often fought and caused disorder, and the church was like, hey, this is not so good, this is ungodly, we don't like it. And it was very physical. Like, for example, the character of Arlecchino, he has one of his specific movements that he does is where he holds a glass of wine, he does a backflip, lands on his feet without letting a single drop fall out of the cup, and then when he lands, he takes a sip. And doing that takes so much control over one's body and takes years of training, and it's very physical, acrobatic, and they had very identifiable costumes. For example, the character of, again, Arlecchino wore very colorful attire, colorful diamonds, and he had a hat on with a feather sometimes that stuck through his cap. And there is also a hierarchy which determines how much respect or disrespect the characters add to each other. And that is seen here. You have Zani, who is the lowest of the low, and then you have Capitan, followed by Brigalia and Arlecchino, who are the servants of Pantalone, along with Columbina. Now, Arlecchino isn't completely in love with Columbina, and will do anything for her. So that's why he's a little below her, because he's willing to do anything she says. And then you have the lovers, one of which is usually the son or daughter of Pantalone, the other being the son or daughter of Dottore. And then on the highest ring is Magnifico. He is the head honcho, the one in charge that shows he's better than everybody else. And their costuming. As I mentioned earlier, they are very unique and provide interest to the character that's wearing them. Like I mentioned earlier, Arlecchino, as seen here, has a very colorful costume, usually in diamonds, with a cap. And then the character of Pantalone has a red tight suit with a black hat as well. And each of the characters are representative of an animal. Pantalone here is representative of a rooster, and the red on his costume could represent a rooster's wattle, the thing that's on top of their head. And for the masks, Pantalone, as seen here, since he was an old man, he had a longer nose so he could be in everybody's business, and his bone structure on the mask was more pronounced, especially around the eyes, cheekbones, and eyebrows. And then we have Arlecchino, which, as I've mentioned, which he is representative by a cat because he's very agile and very sneaky on how he does things to get his way. And you can see how he could be representative of a cat in his mask through his nose shape and how far his cheeks come down like the jowls of a cat. And now for my theater convention, I will be covering movements and motivations for two characters, that be Arlecchino and Pantalone. Now, Arlecchino, when he moves, he usually has his body bent like this. And since he's such an agile character, he needs to keep a low center of gravity to stay safe and land easier when he's doing his tricks. And he's always ready to jump like a spring, and he's on the balls of his seat. His heels never touch the floor when he's moving, so he would move like this when he also leads with his mask, so he would move something like this. Very light and simple, like a cat. And he would also have a slapstick, which he would use to either hit something and emphasize a joke. And as I mentioned earlier, he is completely in love with Columbina and would do anything for her. The only competitor to that affection would be food. He's always looking for the next place he can get some food, and just take it all and eat it for himself. He's always stuffing his face. And then you have Pantalone, who is an old man, so his movements would be hunched over, he would have to shuffle across the stage with his knees bent because, like I said, he is an old man. He doesn't move as easily as he used to. And his hands are always moving, trying to find more money because he's miserly. He has one hand close to his chest to keep the money that he has safe, and then one hand behind him to keep things secret and also keep more money safe. So an example of how he would move is, and now for my moment of theater. I will be doing what's known as a lazzi. It comes from the Italian word lasso, and it's used to transition between two scenes and keep the pace in the show. While most of them are improvised, they do have stock lazzis that are used to move it along, the show along. They have the premise storyline, but it's up to the actors to improv it from that little bit that they're given. And it usually features 2 or more masks. Like, for example, the lazzi that I will be performing has the characters of Pantalone and Arlecchino. And for this lazzi, Arlecchino finds a lottery ticket and he drops it on the ground. Pantalone finds it, and it's up to Arlecchino to get the lottery ticket back. So Arlecchino would come onto the stage very happy, very jumpy, because he's just excited to be for the day. So he would say something like, "Oh, today is a wonderful day! Oh, I just can't wait to do it all! Woohoo!" And he would do a cartwheel or something like that to emphasize his excitement. Then as he lands, he would say, "Oh, a lottery ticket! This is my lucky day! Woohoo! Ha! I could go to that new steakhouse. Or maybe I could take Columbine out on a date. Or both!" And because he is not the smartest, he would accidentally drop it. And this is when Pantalone would come across the stage and he would find the lottery ticket. He would be, "Ooh, a lottery ticket. I wonder what idiot dropped this. Whoop, mine now." But before Pantalone can go off stage, Arlecchino would notice that his lottery ticket is missing, and he would come back to find it. And he would come back from where he exited and would say, "Oh, I knew it was around here somewhere. Where could it be?" Then he would run into Pantalone. And he would ask Pantalone if he's seen it. "Oh, excuse me, sir. Have you seen my lottery ticket that I dropped? Oh, it was right here. I ran off and I lost it." Pantalone, not wanting to lose his money, he would lie to Arlecchino to try and keep it safe, keeping it close to his chest and hunched over so he can't see it. So he would say, "What? No, lottery ticket? I've never seen one of those. What's a lottery ticket? Huh? What are you talking about?" Now, while Arlecchino is not the brightest, he knows when someone's trying to swindle him. He's street smart. So Arlecchino would see that something's up, and he would try to trick Pantalone into giving the lottery ticket. He would say something like, "Oh, well, that's a shame. The ticket was a loser anyway. I was going to use it for kindling for firewood. But, oh well, later." Then he would fake run off to ease Pantalone into a sense of security, so he will ditch the ticket. Pantalone would be surprised and say, "What? A loser? Oh!" And one of the Pantaloon's movements that he does is when he's surprised, he falls back like a cockroach and falls out like this. So after he's surprised, he would get back up and it's like, stupid lottery ticket, and he would walk off. But before Pantaloon could get completely off stage, Arlecchino would come back and grab the ticket, and he would do, oh yes, thanks for the ticket back. I'll take Scarlett out nicely. He runs back, but Pantaloon, hearing that he had just been swindled, he would be angry and he would start chasing Arlecchino to the best of his abilities. He would say, "That's my ticket! Oh, my back!" And that would conclude Lotzi. Now, for my connections. One of the connections that I found was it's very physically demanding, much like parkour, which I've studied for years. And parkour is using movement to get from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible. And this is very much like Commedia in the sense that it has a lot of movement and physicality to it. Especially with the characters such as Arlecchino, every move needs to be pronounced and exactly planned out the way it should be. Now for my final reflection, it taught me to be more animated when I'm performing, and since I'm a Western actor, I rely more on realism, and I usually use my face to provide more explanation for my movements, for my acting. But when in Commedia, you don't have facial emotions. You have to rely on your voice and your movement, as I mentioned earlier, to show completely what you mean. So it taught me to rely more on my body than just my face and soul. And I also learned how prominent the characters still are today. For example, when someone would think of a miserly old man in current times, someone might automatically jump to Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. He is a miserly old man that is not very nice and has a long nose, exactly like Pantaloon's mask. And since he's the richest man in Springfield, he has his nose in everything, much like Pantaloon likes to have his nose in everybody else's business. And I also learned to have a stronger appreciation towards the actors that perform this and still perform it to this day. They have to train for years to get their bodies adjusted to all the movement they have to do, to have it down to a science. They have mastered all their movements, especially in this character of Arlecchino, because even though I've done parkour and training like that, I was surprised and dumbfounded by the amount of tricks and physicality he had to do just during one show. And as you can see, I'm a little out of breath from just doing all of that. So if that's anything to go by, I'm completely astonished by them and all the work that they put into their performance. And this would conclude my research presentation. Thank you.